Merry Christmas.
Hi, I'm Dan. I never really do any introductions to these videos, but I thought, why not? This video is coming about a month after Christmas, so it's a bit of a while late, but editing and stuff, and I've been busy. But yeah, please enjoy this video of me experiencing Christmas away from home for the first time with my friend's Polish family in Upper Austria and going around Vienna. Yeah, enjoy. Bye. Austria, famous for its sweet treat desserts, its Baroque architecture and housing of artwork such as Klimt. And also famous for its anti-vax nationalist protests. It was a welcome home for sure. It was my first time back in Vienna after a while of being abroad, so I took the chance to see old friends and get to know what's been going on in their lives. Here, we're making the delicious Austrian dish canoodle, which I'm pronouncing incredibly wrong, but therefore I'm putting the word on the screen right now. It's essentially a rolled up kind of ball of ingredients, some of which I will put on the screen, where you fry them, split them in half, there's a little bit of oil coming on them, and generally just have a glass of beer with it, I suppose.
Yeah.
It being the Christmas season in a Germanic country, I had to take advantage of the markets. So I went round to Karlsplatz and just basically saw the sights of what was going down. It was the usual. Crepes, punch, glühwein, with families and their kids wandering around and trying to have fun. Or seeming to have fun. Either way.
Let's go. Merry Christmas.
After spending a few days in Vienna, I then had to head to Kirchdorfer an der Krems, a small little village at the foot of the Alps. This was because my original plan of going back home for Christmas to the UK had kind of been foiled by the Omicron variant that was very big around that time. So instead of risking getting caught in the UK in another lockdown or another flight rejection, I decided to stay and take the offer of spending Christmas with my friend Jakub and his Polish family. Sharing a room with Jakub and his younger brother Michał, I had my own adjacent bed, a little small fold-out thing just beside in this room. Time in the house was mainly spent talking with each other, although due to my lack of Polish and German I needed a translator. But Joanna spoke English, and as well as this, we'd always help each other cooking. So for instance, this is me helping to make pierogi with the family. You start off with a base, cut out some pieces, and then you take the stuffing, which for instance, this is a kind of mushroom stuffing of some sorts, and you roll and fold, and this is the mashed potato pierogi.
Jest łatwo do zapamiętania urodziny walentynki.
Ja wiem, to jest ciekawe.
When we weren't spending our lazy days inside, we would venture out into the cold and take some walks around the mountains and the hills.
In case you forget where you are. Austria, if you didn't know, by all the flags.
The higher we got, the more view we could see, or not see in this case. There's a word in German called Nebeldecke, which means blanket of mist, and I thought it applied very well to this situation. After about an hour and a half of walking, we eventually made it to our final destination, Burg Altpenstein, which is around 1,000-year-old castle hanging out in the foothills of the Alps.
Oh, it's closed.
Yeah. For how long?
Until spring.
Shut the fuck up.
Żeby się dać zapisać z poślubioną sobie Maryją, która była brzemienna.
And then we had Christmas dinner, which took place on the 24th and not the 25th, as is custom in more Central European countries. And then a cracker was passed around where each person would say what they wish they would hope for the other person in the new year. The cracker was passed around along the table after you'd done all your wishes, and each person would take a little piece of your cracker and eat it.
Widziałbyś ode mnie?
Nie.
Asi zdania matury przede wszystkim. Nie wiem.
No, dzięki.
Tak półtorej kochanki starca.
And then, as is customary, we went to a Christmas church service.
Christus, erbarme dich unser. Herr, erbarme dich unser.
I hadn't actually seen the town of Kirchdorfer am der Krems at this point. So, as the sun was rising high and the ice was melting, I thought I'd check out what was going on in the town and see for myself what the village of Kirchdorfer am der Krems had to offer.
So Kirchdorfer am der Krems is a lot like many other tiny villages, kind of in these alpine regions of Austria. But what is kind of special about this town is it has quite a large Polish population, actually. So, for example, Jakub and his family. Jakub's father, Eddie, came down here in the 80s, I think, when he was like 19, or the 90s, just after the war fell, actually, about 1 year or 2 years after the Soviet Union collapsed in 1981. And Eddie came here and he found himself a job as a butcher, or a butcher's apprentice. And then Agata came down a couple of years later to work some housework for a woman, I believe, and that's when they met. And there's quite a few Polish people here, actually, in the town of Kirchdorfer am der Krems. So interesting, the little pockets of ethnicities that you find across Europe. And during the war, like many of the places in Germany and Austria, it did get bombed by the Allies, so I'm unsure whether it's the Americans or the Russians who did the bombing in this place. But it's evident to see a lot of the buildings are quite new, but the thing that remains originally from before the war is the church. You see the old thing here, I don't know if I'm actually pointing at it. And so this is originally before the war, and then they built this tower here, so this is new actually. And yeah, so that's the only thing that's really modern about this, and I think it's one of the few places in the town that actually didn't get destroyed. So, well, I think, to be honest, not to disappoint people, besides the high street, you know, I don't think there's much else really to show about this place. It's well, actually, hang on. Oof, we've got the Rat House. This is like the mayoral place, so there you go, you can have a look at that. But besides that, I think it's just your average small little village in Austria, really. But besides it being like at the foothill of the Alps, as I say, so Upper Austria, there's not too much going on. And it's starting to rain and getting dark about 4 o'clock here, so I think I'm going to head back to the house. But let's say goodbye to the old rat house of Kirchdorfer, okay? And here we have actually the commemorations of those who fought in the First World War. So obviously you've got Karl Wieser, Leopold Bludere, Franz Haslinger, you know. And here we have the the fallen of the 1939 to 1945 war. And so compare that size to this one. And we've also got the Iron Cross, the old imperial symbol here, which has aged better than the symbol they were using in the 40s, let's say. But then on the other side, you also have another war. Wehrmacht. So obviously a lot of people from this village got caught up. Karl Pankratz. So imagine these people, who they were. Maybe they would have fought in the Western theatre, you know, some were stationed maybe in France, some was maybe stationed in, you know, maybe even Italy, fighting the Allies in Italy. But what I suspect is maybe a lot of these people would have been sent to the Eastern Front to fight the Russians. And I don't think maybe, well, obviously, I wonder what percentage of the population actually came back, what the population of this village is. So yeah, I mean, Germany obviously, wow, fighting two fronts, they got absolutely battered. So a lot of people died, of course. But you see, look, commemorations like this all over the place. And look, you even have a little electronic candle. After a week of staying with the PX in their home for Christmas, it was eventually time for me and Jakob to move on.
Oh, yeah.
After saying my goodbyes to the family and thanking them for everything, me and Jakob boarded a 4:30 a.m. train back to Vienna. And here we are back in Vienna again. We had a great Christmas, we had a Polish dinner, I cooked some traditional British food, which I think went down as well as can be expected for my cooking skills. I got some photo editing done. I watched the entirety of Emily in Paris. God, that's time I'll never get back. And I had a really good time with Jakob and his family. And, you know, thank you to them again for taking me in and giving me a place to stay and cooking for me. And, you know, Eddie, Agata, Michał, Joanna, Jakub, the whole Piech clan. You know, I'm indebted, of course. So now that I'm back in grey Vienna, and this is what it'll be like now for the next, well, 2-3 months until late March, April. So let's not stay here. Let's get on a plane. Let's head back to Spain, I think.